Hi, everybody. This is Kevin Smith, also known as Melvin Smif from Melvin Smif's Geekery. You guys are in luck because I just saw that the Hangouts Live function allows me to stream for up to 8 hours. So we've got plenty of time to unbox Faith tonight. If any of you all don't know me, I am Kevin Smith. I am the author and creator of Melvin Smif's Geekery, a proud member of the RPG Academy Network. And I love RPGs, tabletop gaming, anything I can get my hands on. And I remember vividly when this game was getting ready to do its Kickstarter run. Faith, the Sci-Fi RPG from Burning Games. I've been really waiting to get my hands on this. I couldn't afford to back the Kickstarter at the time, so I did my level best to talk it up on Twitter, on my blog, anywhere I could. And since then, I've been kind of waiting for the day when I could actually afford to buy it. And lo and behold, the good people at Burning Games sent me a copy just to thank me for blogging about them in the first place, which I did anyway because they were an awesome game. But I certainly do enjoy getting a copy as well. So without further ado, let's get started. Great box, good artwork, which I imagine we're going to be seeing a lot of throughout. As you can see, Faith is a unique role-playing game in the aspect that you also play using cards instead of just dice. That's kind of a newer mechanic that you've been seeing a couple of different RPGs go with lately. I think Pathfinder's kind of dabbled in it, but theirs was a separate game from the Pathfinder game. Faith is a tabletop role-playing game. It's not a board game. It's not a card collecting game, deck building game, or anything like that. This is an RPG. You create characters. You have a game master, and you use the cards as if you would use pieces of equipment, things like that, certain abilities, all to help customize your character. But I'm itching to get inside, so let's open her up. I didn't even get the plastic off yet. I wanted you guys to know that this was a completely fresh unboxing. All right. And you can tell that I'm a complete unprofessional at this. I don't even have a good studio to do anything like this in. And as you can see, I'm unboxing from my lap. So I'll do my level best to try and show you guys things as I go along. All right, one of the first things you see when you unbox is the rule book, version 1.0. Looks like it's not a hardback, which honestly, with how much good stuff that's in here to begin with at the price point that they've set it at, I'd have been surprised if it was a hardback, but it feels solid. Doesn't seem to be a cheap paper book by any stretch of the imagination. The inside pages are sturdy. They have a glossy finish to them. I don't know anything about bookbinding, but I can tell that they are quality papers. Let's see. We've got right away, they go into some of their playtesters and special thanks. I'm sure in the back somewhere they've got their Kickstarter thank you page, but I don't need to go through that. I wasn't even in the Kickstarter, unfortunately. I was just a blogger. It looks like there's a lot in here. If you can get a good look at the print size, though the book seems to be kind of thin, the print is small enough that there's a lot of information in here. We've got a table of contents, goes through general rules, characters, attributes and skills, upgrades, non-player characters, all the typical things that you would expect from a tabletop RPG, only I'm sure that they will be going into how to utilize the cards and other game pieces that they add in here that help make Faith kind of a unique system. I'll get into a little bit of what I know about Faith's lore and everything like that in a little bit. Right now, I'm sure everybody's itching to see some of the pieces that come along with this game. Looks like we have a lot of punch outs. if I remember from the playtest kit that I had and played around with, many of these punch outs are used on top of the cards. A lot of the cards will have certain things that will change over the course of the game, and you can cover up certain points, give numbers to certain areas on the cards to kind of change even what an individual card may mean, let alone the fact that you'll have a whole deck of your own cards to help play with your character. There are just tons of these punch outs. Looks like you have NPCs, things like that. We've got some pretty sturdy items here, and of course, as you can see, if I can get it to focus on that instead of my big old face, like some of the artwork in this game is just amazing. Nothing was really held back here. This wasn't a let's get funded with what limited artwork we have and just put out the product. There was a lot of care and attention put into making this a good game that other people might want to buy themselves after the Kickstarter was done. This wasn't a one and done situation. So, oh man, I don't even know what some of these mean. Looks like these might be pieces that speak to either certain status ailments or maybe even certain changes in the game. They're all very high quality as well. It's a good card stock that went into that. And speaking of cards, let's get into those. Holy cow. This is awesome. So, what I have sitting in front of me is an NPC deck full of NPCs for your games. I have a gear deck full of gear to give to certain players and stuff. I'm terrible at this. I can't even get things to focus. But the coolest thing I think is that in this box you get not one but 4 player decks. And these player decks are everything you would need to create one of your players and help get them ready for the game. Man, I wish I could remember a little bit more about how this game ran. Looks like you have a lot of images you can use for certain players. They have point values, which I cannot remember what they mean at this moment. But one of the things that you really want to know from this video is this a quality product? And I can tell you right now, the cards that are in the deck, good cards, every bit as sturdy as you would expect from like a deck of bicycle cards, even more so. The box is good. That's something that you want with any of these. You don't want some box that's going to fall apart and then you have to find a different place to put your cards. But you might end up putting your cards in a different kind of holder to begin with. So it says here that the player deck is a deck of, it's a deck of poker cards. That's right. It has custom symbols and 54 uniquely illustrated cards. Faith is an RPG that uses board game tools such as cards to enhance the experience of play and put the art on the table. So these cards, it seems like it helps the player to play the game. They have their own deck of cards which they can draw from to get different effects that will kind of randomize things within the game, even though I believe, if I remember correctly, you're still using dice as well. The gear deck, we can get into that as well. I know that that's one of the places I would look first. I'm always a big sucker for different gear that could be interesting. I mean, just some more just great artwork. I know that it's not focusing in as well as I would like it to on the artwork, but you've got guns, you have suits, and this is an example of one of the suits that you might have one of your characters wear. Here's a frag grenade that your character might use. I mean, if the title of the game wasn't a dead giveaway in and of itself, I mean, it's a sci-fi RPG. It's you're obviously going to have things like, oh, nanosurgeons. Do a little bit of self-healing. You have an electro suit. That's pretty awesome right there. Just a whole lot of unique gear. Really sets the tone. Man, I really like something like this. Just a close combat weapon. I believe it's called a disruptor. Or this is an ACS bow. Oh, so it's like a bow staff. It has the disruptor ability. Okay. All really neat. Man, I can't wait to actually see about running this game. I'll have to see if I can get the Monday night guys to run it after I get done running Out of the Abyss. Which, if you're interested in Out of the Abyss, I am doing ongoing coverage on the blog. But that is not what this is about. So, NPC deck. Oh, look, I have one viewer. Hey, how you doing out there? I wish I could figure out a way to actually converse with my viewers. I didn't quite figure that out before I did this. To be perfectly honest, I started doing this recording so I can post it on the blog later. But anyone who's watching, thanks for watching. All right, NPCs. I mean, I don't see a ton of repeats in here. They've got a lot of great, interesting enemies. I mean, you got an assassin. This guy's called a swarmer. See if I can get it to actually focus in on that. Once again, good quality of the cards. Excellent artwork. I mean, I know that when I did my initial blog, artwork was one of the things that I kept coming back to. You can't really beat or skip out on great art in an RPG. I mean, some RPGs have just such a great concept that you might be able to get away with just having the written rules. I'm thinking of something like a Dread game. This game has a fantastic concept, interesting sci-fi, futuristic role-playing game, but then it mixes in just this fantastic artwork, which I know in my blog review of the Kickstarter, I was able to give props to the individuals who were behind some of the artwork. I'm hoping that when I go back to the book here, I'm able to find some of those names and really sort of call them out. Let's see, some of the artists. Oh man, I will butcher these names. Vukasin Bajic, Aleska Brasic, Marco Brunelleschi, James Combridge, Shen Fei, Eduardo Garcia, Ivan Jovanik, Lucas Poduch, Tyler Ryan, Yongyi Lee, Zabi Hassan, Denzel Obang, Hakeem Rafi, J.R. Barker, and the featured artist, Anthony Jones. And then there's just a ton of writers and game designers and everything in here. I really bit off more than I could chew there with the artists, but, you know, I had to give props. All right, so obviously I'm not going to go through the book and explain every core detail of it. If nothing else, I might show you just some of the great artwork again. And I will probably supplement this with a blog post explaining a few more of my ideas on the rules and everything after I do a refresher. But I just wanted to get this out here, do a review of the box itself, the quality of it, and I can definitely say it gets an A+ in that department. Everything looks to be in great shape. Definitely worth the purchase if you enjoy the concept of this game and you want to learn more about it and you really want to go the full haul and pick up what I think is probably a good bang for your buck with the 4-player decks and some of the gear decks and everything like that. And it looks like, one thing to note, these are extraneous anyway. If they are truly just representations of a poker deck, they didn't even have to add these. They could have just said, hey, and use a poker deck for the player deck. So you can always add in another player if you've got more than 4. It's really nice to have 4 of these to really help set the tone, get some of that artwork on the table, like they said. And other than that, I don't really have anything else to bring to you all tonight. I hope you enjoyed my first foray into a live unboxing. You can find me at Melvin Smif's Geekery, melsmifgames.wordpress.com. Like I said before, I'm a proud member of the RPG Academy Network. And with the RPG Academy Network, I did want to do one little plug for a little convention known as a Catacon. Now, coming up this year in November, I know that seems like a far distance away, but you should really get your con schedules worked out. In November, the good folks at RPG Academy, Michael and Caleb, will be hosting once more a Catacon. It was a great event last year. It was their first true foray into conventions, other than hosting their own in a basement, and it went off gangbusters. It was fantastic. This year, bigger, better, and they want to invite more people. They've upgraded the space because, frankly, they need it. You could tell just by the way things went last year that they're going to get tons of people interested, and people are going to want to come. Special guests are going to be just amazing. Last year, you had folks like John Wick, who is currently running a Kickstarter for a new version of 7th Sea. You had Rich Baker. You had Robert Schwalb, which I actually even got to play in a game with. But, who didn't at a Catacon? That man was running games every hour on the hour. And frankly, it was a fantastic time with a great group of people. I made a ton of friends, got to catch up with some friends that I'd never met in person. And, it was about the games and meeting some cool people who you can play those games with. I truly suggest you give a good hard look at a Catacon in Dayton, Ohio in November. The Kickstarter for that should be coming fairly soon, I believe. Once there's some hard dates set, I'll be definitely getting that information out there. And if you pay attention to any of the RPG Academy Network folks, you'll be getting some information on that too. Once again, visit me at Melvin Smif's Geekery and visit all my fine RPG Academy Network friends. My site as well. Later.